I think if I have any beef with anything, it's with pop psychology and the way it has infected people with this kind of belief that intelligence is just something you're given with. That, to me, is a convenient excuse for many people, a comforting thought to others, and probably BS all the way along. I don't know why people can't see that some of that discussion about how you're just sort of born with an intelligence or you're born with a mind and it has certain characteristics and all this kind of stuff is convenient and self-serving at best, dangerous and horrifying at worst. So many of the videos that I have put on here have been trying to help people understand that your mind is growable, that cultural evolution is now outstripping natural evolution. Your mind is between you and other people. To get into the library and to study and to read and to celebrate the fact that you can open to some of the greatest minds who have ever lived. It's called going to the library and reading. To really understand that is to start to recognize that mind is so much more cultivatable than pop psychology and these popular notions of what a person is. Too unfortunately, natural evolution and cultural evolution are just set in this one category called evolution, and it's aligned with a kind of naturalism that makes people the victims to themselves by some definition of what intelligence is or what a person is. So much of the great insights here of, Marianne Wolf's book here, Proust and the Squid, is that we do have a genetic endowment for the acquisition of a native tongue. If there are people around, during a certain acquisition period, there are genes. You're hardwired for the natural acquisition of language. There's not an instinct to speak. There's an instinct to babble. And then the babbling period, again, is partly caught up in the response that others give to it, and the child slowly emerges that it is the source of the babbling and then gains some conscious control. During that period, children can learn multiple different languages, and all of those languages can be acquired, in fact, without accents. And it will be, it's a very fluid, amazing period where the brain is structuring itself. Later in life, if you try to learn languages, those languages learned are going to be much more difficult to learn, and you're more likely to have an accent that's grounded from your, quotes, mother tongue. Literacy is totally different than this. Literacy is, there's no, just as an example, some of the differences of literacy and orality. Literacy has no genetic hardwiring there for its natural acquisition. And in fact, your brain has to reroute object recognition capacities. They get rerouted, reorganized into this reading capacity. There are different kinds of reading and writing, and I think literacy, that's like the word animal. It's too abstract. There are different forms of writing. To people who really want to understand the importance of phonetic literacy, and that's the literacy that we know and experience and we just assume to be literacy, but alphabetic literacy or phonetic literacy, where the images represent a sound rather than an idea or concept, this is crucial. You want to understand that, we say that the Greek alphabet was this great discovery, and arguably, there were some other phonetic form of scripts, but the Greeks discovered the pure consonant, that is, the consonant separated from the vowel, even in the syllable, right? So take the letters A, B, C, D, E. B, C, D, right? They all have the E vowel sound in the name of the letter, right? So I mean, when you're naming letters, even or when you have syllables, the alphabetic text pulverizes what the ear can hear, and you actually hear a subatomic fragment of what could never be actually heard. It's sort of identified. The B, the D, the C without the vowel accompaniment is very hard to empirically hear, but you can visually represent it. And this Greek discovery, it should be stressed, was at a seaport where many different languages were coming together and they were contrasting one another. And alphabetic text, because the images mean sounds rather than concepts or ideas, it became the condition for universal translation. The larger point of all of this is that learning to read and write, and in particular the kind of literacy that we experience, the ability to go into a library and study some of the great minds who have existed throughout history, this is so important, and it's so vital to realize how cultivatable one's mind is. Your mind is radically, radically cultivatable, and I want people to celebrate that, to realize that. And if it sounds like if it's philosophy, and if I'm here doing the beardy pulley, and it's, I don't know what to say about that other than I think ancient philosophy, as practiced by, for example, Epictetus or Seneca, Plato, these were attempts to help liberate people in their everyday lives. They were attempts to help people grow in their spiritual potency, in their humanity, and to cultivate themselves. That's what so much of this discussion is about. If anything, I'm trying to give words of encouragement to people who want to get into book culture and to celebrate reading and to realize that humanity is precariously perched. We are a plastic species, and literacy is a cultural achievement, not just to the individual. Now, the individual does get neuronally rewired in becoming literate, but it's the larger social, cultural, historical effects of literacy. It's what Ivan Illich called lay literacy, the way that streets are arranged and the way that information and databases are arranged, the way that we do retrieval and archival work according to alphabetic principles of, ABC, a sort of seriality, order, linearity, all of these kinds of capacities have been externalized, and it's like the alphabet is now in the world writ large. And that's why, to be a wholly oral person in a literate society is a kind of deficit. We speak of it as being illiterate, right? That's not the case in a wholly oral society. But the point there then is you want to see it. See that for what it is. What does that mean? It means that cultural evolution is now outstripping natural evolution. That's what people should keep their eyes on. You're more transformable than pop psychology and this natural evolution stuff would make you think. You may be a spiritual being who's open to becoming yourself in dialogue with others. Thanks.